There we go, my friends. You're probably like, where's Arrington at? Just a blank screen. I'm here, y'all. Welcome to another great episode of the Arrington Gavin Show. This is a show where we discuss, news that's trending, also thought-provoking discussions from the fields of pop culture, politics, sports, and all the above. Look, this is, I believe, episode 128, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 128. So time sure does go by so fast. Look, man, today's show, I'm so excited to have a special guest on. It's been a while since I had a special guest on the program, but I'm very excited because this guest right here is not only a wrestling enthusiast, something that I have a passion about. I'm a huge wrestling fan, adored, watched it since I was a kid. I had all the action figures, the video games, you name it. I was a true fan, and I'm starting to kind of resurface back with the relationship with professional wrestling and enjoying it every step of the way. I'm very excited to have Mr. Stanley Karr. He is the host of Wrestling with Heart. He's also a colleague of mine on a radio station, WDJY 99.1 FM, based out in the Metro Atlanta area. So I'm very excited. As you know, I have a show there that airs Monday through Fridays at 11 p.m. The Arrington Gavin Show, obviously, so you can listen to it there as well as listen to it on all digital and streaming platforms. But like my good friend Stanley's program airs Sundays at 4 on WDJY 99.1 FM. And Wrestling with the Heart is an awesome show. I will say I am a true fan. What he does, he sit down conversations with past and even present performers, very well-known wrestlers, and what they're doing in their current life as far as giving back to the community. I have a true passion when it comes to giving back. I think we all should make that a priority, especially, hey, we all are fortunate. We're spoiled people here in America. We have, roof over our head. We have food, clothes on our back. So it's always great to hear about the positive things that they're doing outside the ring. So I'm very, very excited to have this conversation with Stanley, man. Again, when it comes to professional wrestling and the I guess the outside looking in, a lot of people on the outside will be like, well, we see a bunch of big diesel people just throwing chairs and beating each other up and stuff like that. They could care less of what happens outside the ring. But thanks for people like Stanley, we get to hear about the true individual and not just the character that they portray in the ring. And so again, I'm very excited to have him on. Before I move on throughout the show, I always have to thank those who continue to support the show by tuning in regularly. If you're listening or watching us as we speak, I truly appreciate it. Again, new episodes of the Arrington. You see it if you're watching. You see it scrolling down the screen. So on the digital and streaming platforms, we drop episodes Monday through Thursdays at 7 p.m. But you can also tune in and listen to us on WDJY 99.1 FM Monday through Fridays at 11 p.m. Also WDJYFM.com online if you're not in the Georgia area. So a lot of stuff we're going to impact later on in the show. Also, I got to thank some proud supporters of the Arrington Gavin Show, like my good friends over at Ingenious Gin. Okay, Ingenious Gin is a rose gold, black-owned, veteran-owned gin. For you gin connoisseurs and gin explorers out there, hey, I highly recommend Ingenious Gin. Add that to your bar or grab yourself a bottle. Now, I've mentioned many of times on this program, I am more of a bourbon and whiskey guy. Okay, I dab and deal in the tequila depending on the season, but gin was just gin was never my cup of tea. But after I had Ingenious, I'm like, wait a minute. You can drink it neat. You can have it on ice. It's a great cocktail drink as well. I want to thank my friends Reggie and Lawrence, who are co-owners of this amazing spirit. Yes, it's very smooth. It's very smooth. So be sure to go to some of your local spirit stores or ABC stores and grab yourself a bottle of Ingenious Gin. Also, you can shop online at www.ingeniousgin.com. Do me a favor, friends. Make sure to drink responsibly. All right, drink responsibly. Also, Bernardo's Menswear. That's right, my good buddy, Mr. Bernardo Johnson. He makes sure you're looking swagged out from head to toe, whether if it's business casual or formal. He has an amazing collection over at Bernardo's Menswear. If you happen to be in the Hampton Roads area, be sure to visit him in MacArthur Mall on the first floor, located in the heart of downtown Norfolk. Let them know that Arrington sent you, and don't worries if you're not in Hampton Roads area. It's okay, y'all. It's okay. You can shop online at www.bernardosmenswear.com. Okay, bernardosmenswear.com. Just a couple of those, couple of the people that I always appreciate that continue to support the Arrington Gavin Show, because as you know, we are a very grassroots independent program. We continue to grow each and every step of the way. We're fortunate to be, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast at, and now you can listen to us here on WDJY 99.1 FM. So truly appreciate it and very excited of what to come in the future. So we're just here growing, man, and all we're doing is having a great conversation. Just an awesome conversation. Not a really an interview. I always tell my guests, well, it's an interview, but really it's not an interview. It's a conversation. I consider myself a conversationalist, right? You learn so much amongst conversation. I've always said a conversation is what America is missing right now. It's just, can we just sit down, stop all the back and forth and, division? Let's just have a sit down conversation. If you don't drink, that's fine. But if you do, let's have a beer or something and just talk. Let's just talk. We can solve so many of our world's problems by just having a conversation. So yeah, that's my spiel. That's my spiel, is just really have a conversation. Let's see what else is new. I think that's about it. Am I missing anything, ladies and gents? I'm trying to see. Oh, for those who tune into my I've hosted a radio show in my hometown called In Your City. In Your City, hosted by myself, as long with my good friends comedian Ciroc Fox and hustle queen Miss Michelle Young. That airs every Sundays weekly at noon at WNSB Hot 91, and it's a station out there that we happen to be having our last day there. We're our last day with that station, so we're going to continue to be more of a digital and streaming show because we're all getting busy. I'm continue to grow the Arrington Gavin Show, and Ciroc is on the road right all the time, touring and doing his acts. Michelle has the new full package music and singing competition show that I'm happy to serve as backstage host. So we have so much stuff happening, and yeah, it's bittersweet. We truly appreciate the opportunity, but like I said, you can't get rid of me because I like to talk, right? I like to talk. You probably say, "Oh man, Arrington, you're leaving us." Nope, no, you can't get rid of me that quick. So yes, we are transitioning from that, but again, going back to here. Arrington Gavin Show is where it's at. This is the place to be, and I'm so excited. Like I said, I have a guest that I'll be bringing on later on in the program, Mr. Stanley Karr, host of Wrestling with Heart. Okay, Wrestling with Heart, where you can listen to on WDJY 99.1 FM every Sundays at 4 p.m. Also, you can listen to him on all digital and streaming platforms, y'all. All digital and streaming platforms. Again, that's Wrestling with Heart, hosted by Stanley Karr. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, my friends. When we come back, I'm going to bring on my good friend Stanley. We're going to talk about everything wrestling, from the new leadership with WWE, from all the top tier, I guess you can consider promotions. I'm thinking of like leagues in my head, like they're like different like basketball leagues and things like that. But we're going to talk about all the promotions. What got, where did the love of wrestling, start for him, and where did the idea of Wrestling with Heart is such a clever concept and dope show. So I'm excited to really talk with Stanley, man. So look, we're gonna go to a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere, my friends. We'll have more here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Don't go anywhere, and do me a favor, do not change that dial. that's another amazing brand right there. Another proud supporter of the Arrington Gavin Show, the Dapper Luke Collection. That's right, the Dapper Luke Collection. Shout out to my good friend, Mr. Luke Haskett, better known as Dapper Luke. He was the man that customized my suit for my wedding. I've had a few pieces from him as well. So for more information about the Dapper Luke Collection, you can go to dapperluke.com. Also follow him on all social media platforms. He has been a repeated guest here on the program. He's sort of like our fashion contributor, right? When it comes to keeping up with the new trends and stuff that we have questions about, especially us men, right? Because we kind of like, I'll dress up, but I want to wear a tie, right? Let me just go casual. I really don't prefer to dress up. Can I wear sweats? Can I do this? Can I do that? So he's there to help change that narrative, y'all. He's here to help change that narrative. So without further ado, I mentioned I have a special guest here that I'm going to bring on the show. None other than Mr. Stanley Karr, host of Wrestling with Heart. Ladies and gents, there we go. Look at this gentleman right here.
Hello.
What's going on, my friend? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Oh, man. Well, look, I'm so excited to have you on, Stanley. As I mentioned before, I'm a fan of Wrestling with Heart. I've listened to majority of your interviews, man. I mean, and it's so awesome because it's people that I haven't, seen in a long time or heard of in a while, because as a kid, I remember, like, for example, you interviewed Rico Constantino, and I'm like, whoa, Rico? I haven't heard of Rico in like forever. And that was a part of my childhood. Like, I mean, that earlier years of WWE and even OVW. Like, I tune into a lot of the smaller promotions, and I mean, you've interviewed so many. I'm going to talk a little more about that, but again, I want to just welcome you to the program. Host of Wrestling with Heart, which is also happens to be on WDJY 99.1 FM. So, hey, we're colleagues, man. We're here just chopping it up. So, first and foremost, Stanley, man, I want to get into the meat and potatoes of things, man. What got you started? Where did the love of professional wrestling? How'd you get hooked on professional wrestling?
Well, when I was about 4, maybe 5 years old, I would always bond with my dad over just random things, watching television, mainly being one. So I was about 5 years old, and one night my dad's just watching Monday Night Raw, and The Rock is on. This big bulked up dude with the Hawaiian shirts, with the black pants and everything, just like this larger than life guy with the sunglasses. And I'm just sitting down with him one night, just bonding with him. I just said, "Hey, Dad, what are you watching?" And he goes, "I'm watching wrestling." And I'm just like, "Whoa, this is awesome!" And as a 5-year-old, you're watching this, and it's like, this is something that you're not really used to seeing before. It's like wrestling, especially back in the Attitude Era, very raunchy, naughty, everything, it's crazy times.
Absolutely. You definitely nothing for children to say, even though I know there's some kids out there. I was definitely one of those kids that tuned in, my parents probably shouldn't have been, but hey, I definitly tuned into it.
It was the curiosity factor, right? So I just watched Raw, and I believe Rock was wrestling the Big Show, or was in a feud with the Big Show.
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe Stone Cold was out with an injury. I think he got like a neck injury at the time. So
okay, yep. I remember exactly.
Triple H was like the top heel of the company. McMahon Helmsley faction, that was like the big heel group at the time. So I was hooked right away. I did take a couple of years off. Regretfully took a couple of years off just after the invasion happened. But I fell right back into it like around 2004. And it's crazy because, I mean, I would peek in here and there. I heard about Brock Lesnar, when he was, at that time, he was like the face of the company, or like one of the top faces on SmackDown, at least on SmackDown. Triple H was the face on Raw. And so one night I just tune in. It was after WrestleMania 20, and John Cena comes out. And so This was back when he was, the Dr. Thugonomics with the rap gimmick, and I instantly knew right then and there they're gonna do something with this guy. This guy's gonna be champion within the next couple of years. And
Wow.
I just feel like whenever I see somebody like with charisma, like really like getting over with fans, and just like had just a real cool character, I said they're gonna do something with this guy. Like this guy was gonna be something. Even at 9 years old, or 8 years old, about to turn 9 years old, I could tell they were going to do something big with John Cena. And a year later, he became champion. So I fell back into it. I always say, like, I feel like I was raised in the Ruthless Aggression era, just because that was like the majority of my childhood, memories came from that time. But I still have a soft spot for the Attitude Era. I still can say that I grew up watching The Rock and Stone Cold, like even in their prime as a little kid. But I still have fond memory. Most of my fond memories were of that Ruthless Aggression era. John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, just Edge. I mean,
say no more, man. I think so. We're probably close to the same. Because how old are you? Might I ask?
I'm 29.
Okay, boom. Same here. Here. I'll be 30. March 18th.
Okay, yeah, we're close in age.
So we definitely, what you're saying is exactly how my upbringing was as far as watching wrestling. Now the interesting thing is my grandmother actually got me into watching wrestling. So like majority of my folks are from New York, and they always share stories of, we went to the Garden, we should check out the old school wrestling matches and this and that and the other. And then my family was familiar with it. And then again, I was hooked. Like, I mean, every action figure I had was wrestling related. It was no outside. No, it was wrestling. It was video games I wanted. Oh, wrestling. I remember purchasing some of like the VHSs back when they had some paper. I mean, I was that hooked. And it was just, it was a combination of, the storyline was always very, engaging. The whole the hero fighting the villain was always back and forth. And then I'm not gonna lie, as a little kid, watching the female wrestlers was definitely catching my eye at a young kid. Okay, Trish Stratus will forever be a crush of mine. Tori Wilson, I'm jealous, by the way, because I saw you interviewed Candice Michelle. I was like, okay, and Candice has not aged a bit, might I ask. And so it's just I was always hooked. But it's so interesting. You actually got me hooked on a new topic of this conversation. We can probably talk a little later on.
Yes.
But you bring up the fact that when you've noticed a wrestler that he has that charisma, you already see that he's gonna project. I feel like I might have taken some L's and be like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna succeed, and then it's like they're gone, like almost like in 2 years or something. And then when I find out what happened to him, they're either at another promotion or something turned out. Because if for example, and he was very popular, but like, remember Mr. Kennedy, the man that used to drop
Yep.
I mean, he had, and he did have a long career with the WWE, but I mean, he's still wrestling now, and it's like,
it's crazy. Because I was just thinking about him the other day. I was watching his he was going to cash in Money in the Bank, and then like he got injured, or I think he had like a misdiagnosed injury, and he lost the briefcase to Edge. And I was like, man, what if Kennedy was able to hold that briefcase? What if he was able to cash in when he was able to? Because I just was like,
I mean, it's so interesting when they when they show performers of where are they now, and you'll see, for example, oh gosh, and I might be mispronouncing his name, but Del Rio,
Alberto
Del Rio, and he's also again a man in great shape. He's performing in a lot of small circuits. Now I did catch him on a lot of the like Lucha Underground and like a lot of the promotions in Mexico. I know he's very, very popular there. Even Carlito. I mean, Carlito's just now kind of coming back, but Carlito was doing a lot. Chris Masters. There's so many high, profile figures that I'm like, these people were up, here, and like, why is it not staying consistent? Like you mentioned about John Cena. John Cena you're seeing him starting to age, by the way. Like he's starting to really like
Yeah,
not
you
be
can
the
tell
same
him
old.
now. You can tell him now he's going to retire soon. We're
Absolutely.
about to head into that phase. But yeah, like I remember going to the toy store and like
Mm.
wanting to buy action figures. I remember, getting a Rock action figure, a Steve Austin action figure. I remember going by the toy aisles and seeing these big like ring sets. I would get all the rings. I got a Titantron at one point. Just I was like, any action figure I could get, I could find, I was there, man. I
Oh
was in
man.
heaven. I would get all the VHS tapes like you. I would get the CDs. Remember when they come out with the CDs of all the wrestlers' entrance themes?
That is true. See, and honestly, I thought the only thing I would say that I didn't like that the WWE or WWF, they might have been WWE, when they did their own soundtracks, like not their entrance, but when they were like they had like Rikishi like singing R&B, they had
Oh
like
yeah.
singing and
Yeah,
doing,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, I don't think this is gonna help, guys. We're stick within one realm. You're getting a little too like money hungry now. It's like no, too much.
So you had mentioned a minute ago about the female wrestlers.
Hmm.
Back in the when I first my first wrestling show I ever attended, I
Hmm.
was 9 years old. I was living
Hmm.
in Maryland at the time,
Okay.
attending. Back then they did when they first did the brand split. They had Raw,
Okay.
SmackDown, and then so my first event was a Raw event, Raw
Mm,
brand event at I believe it was the Harry Grove Stadium in
wow.
Frederick, Maryland.
Wow.
And it was at a baseball park, Harry Grove Stadium. So Jonathan Coachman, I remember, I'll never forget this. Jonathan Coachman was doing a segment with Stacy Keebler, who was from Maryland, Baltimore.
Oh, that's right.
And
Wow.
and so I guess like Coach had said something, very inappropriate, very
Mhm.
mean, and Stacy basically kicked him right where you don't want to be kicked. And I remember they had this intermission between. This was not a televised event. This was a live event.
Mhm,
This was
mhm.
on a. If I remember, this was a Sunday. The next night, I believe they were in DC for
Wow.
Raw, and I'll never forget. They had an intermission. They had this tent where all the wrestlers were coming out, and I just took off from my parents and just was curious to see what they had at this tent. They had the merch stand, they had all the
Mhm.
belts, programs, everything. And I just went to this see what was in this tent. I couldn't put two and two together to see if anybody or anything was in that tent. I was just like, who's in this tent? In front of me, I see Stacy Keebler. To my right is Victoria, and to my left is Kane. And Kane's like
Wow.
making this. Stacy says hi, Victoria says hi, and Kane's just really like, and I'm like, oh, hi, Kane. And I just get yanked
Wow.
on my shirt. It was just hilarious.
That is how,
On my father.
man. That is. Oh, and speaking of Kane, this is a sidebar, by the way, because you're based in the
Nashville.
Tennessee,
Yep.
Nashville. Kane is a mayor in Tennessee,
Yep.
but it's like Knox County, I believe it
Yep.
is.
Knoxville.
Knoxville.
Yep.
So yeah, so again, it's like how the table have turned, right? The big red machine is now still the big red machine, but in on the local office. So it's
Yeah.
really, really cool, man. Well, look, I want to ask, because your show, Wrestling with Heart, awesome title. So we're gonna definitely go back to talking more about
Yeah. Yeah.
the love of wrestling and all that
hmm
good stuff. But
hmm
I wanna ask, where did the idea come about for Wrestling with Heart? Because I love the title.
Oh,
I
thank you.
love the mission of the show. I think it's so like unique. And so like,
Thank you.
where did the thought process and idea come for your show?
So I had attended WrestleMania in Dallas
Hmm.
with the one where Steve Austin came out of retirement and wrestled Kevin Owens.
Okay, yes. Okay,
And
so that was pretty recent.
yeah, and I attended later that year. I attended SummerSlam, which was in Nashville,
Hmm.
with Lesnar facing Roman for the title.
Mm.
So after those two shows, I work at a community college in the greater Nashville area, and I actually
Mm.
have a radio background. I do in addition to doing the show for WDJY and doing my podcast, I also work for a college radio station, college that I had attended, got my associate's degree in. I worked there, and I was taking this class on podcasting that my boss was teaching. So I had come up with an idea because I've done. I also have a music show that I do, a piano show that I do for community access radio station that I've been doing for 8 years. And so I've done, a lot of music stuff. And I was like, you know what? This would be a good time to do a wrestling podcast. And, there's so many wrestling podcasts on the internet. It's unbelievable. And they've got a lot of real good ones too.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I thought that if I'm going to do a wrestling podcast, I want to do something on wrestling that hasn't really been touched on before, that hasn't really been done before, covered before. Because, when you watch a lot of these wrestling podcasts or listen to these wrestling podcasts, it's mainly about their careers and, the same stories that are being told over and over and over again, which we talk about some of those on our show. But you don't really hear so much about the human element, what they do outside of the ring, outside of the business, what these people do to pay things forward to the other person, and also you got the negative stuff out there with the drugs and the, the stuff that you hear about, the crazy side of the business. And I wanted to create a podcast that was very uplifting and talked about the stuff that these people have done to help someone else, whether it is charity work or volunteering somewhere, or giving back to your community. And so I was like, you know what? I think this is a great idea. And here we are now, almost 2 years in.
Wow. Almost 2 years, man. You know what? I can't commend you enough for that, because that's one thing that I love doing about my program. My program is really to, fun and informative. The main things I always push is fun and informative, but also my mission has always been to change the narrative. I hate the route that certain programs and just certain directions that people feed into, because let's be honest, controversy sells in our day and age. So it's like, if you're, reality TV is some of the most watched, highest rated programs, and it's like they never show a positive, message. So you're absolutely right when it comes to on the wrestling aspect. There's not a lot of, okay, let's see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's talk about the good, and not always the dark side of wrestling, which, hey, I'm a fan. I tune into the show, but it's sad to really see that. And to kind of add to that, a few days ago, a few shows ago, I had spoken about Too Cold Scorpio, who's a successful and it's Alec, he was charged with an attack, and he was saying it was self-defense, and not trying to get more into that, but he was a very popular, very again, popular performer. And it's like, wow, this is not so good that's happening at his age, almost 60 years old. Probably he wouldn't want to go through that. Even the Nature Boy Ric Flair, as everybody loves him and as successful, Nature is still a controversial guy. I mean, he still sometimes will get into arguments at sports bars and things like that. So it's definitely, you're absolutely right when it comes to wrestling needed to show the positive side of it, and not all the negative.
Exactly. And so I just really wanted to create something that documented that, showed that, and I'm in this for the long haul. I really want to grow this podcast. I've got it on radio, and we're going to take it, further steps eventually down the road. So I'm really looking forward to continuing the podcast.
That is awesome, man. And I just have to, give you more of your flowers, because some of the people that you've interviewed in your 2 years of your program, I mean, Al Snow, Stevie Ray of Harlem Heat, Rico, as I mentioned earlier, Rico Constantino, Chris Harris of AMW, if you're fans of the TNA brand, Candice Michelle, Devon Dudley. I mean, just to name really a few. I'm jealous because so I've had the opportunity in my lifetime. I've met two. Well, let me see. Yes, in my lifetime, I've met two I'll consider legends in wrestling. One was Kurt Angle. My dad surprised me, and I was a kid. We were arriving in the mall at like a memorabilia store, sports memorabilia store, and I'm like, "What is this line?" Yada yada yada. And this was when he was newly into the ball stage, and I mean, he's one of my favorite wrestlers. I always admired like him. Of course, I have favorites for different reasons. So like him and Brock, I've always been a fan of because it's like you guys are true athletes. Like you are athletes. Like you're an Olympic gold medalist, and Brock could have easily been a gold medalist, but he turned out to be a monster in the UFC, and he's a massive dude. So I've always been a fan of Kurt Angle. So I had the opportunity to meet him, got his autograph, all that good stuff, and then later on, in kind of like the during the early stage of my radio career, I had the opportunity to interview and also meet Ron Simmons. He in Virginia. We have a promotion called VCW, Virginia Championship Wrestling, and they will bring on past and even present performer, very well-known people, and Ron was one of those people that came on. Didn't wrestle, but I'll just say this: he's a lot bigger in person. Like he's much older, but his mitts, like his fist, is so massive, and he's still a big. I mean, because this guy was an All-American out of Florida State. Like he was another top-tier athlete. So. I was nervous as hell when I interviewed him. I'll be honest. It was a 10-minute solid. He was like, no, only 10 minutes. He was straightforward, and I was nervous. So I want to give you your flowers because you interview these people on a regular.
Yeah, I mean, that was the goal. You know, I started with about 7 episodes when I was taking the class, and I was like, you know what? I really enjoy doing this. I feel like I have something here. I want to grow this, man. I'm in this for the long haul, like I said earlier, and I want to build my brand with this and make this one of the best podcasts in the world.
Man, and it will be, man. Well, look, don't go anywhere, my friends. We'll have some more here with Mr. Stanley Karr, host of Wrestling with Heart, a show, digital and streaming platform show, a show you can also tune in every Sundays on WDJY 99.1 FM every Sundays at 4. So look, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to do a quick commercial break when we come back here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Don't go anywhere, and please do me a favor, do not change that dial.
Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Order our scented beard oils and beard balms to help you maintain and grow the perfect beard. Order today. Try our men's care products like the full body exfoliating cleansing bars, body wash, smooth stash, and more. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Rugged Evolution Beard Care. We're your luxury but affordable men's care line. And remember,
rugged is the new smooth.
All right, my friends, welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm your guy, Arrington Gavin, and joining me is my good friend, guest of the show, Mr. Stanley Karr, host of Wrestling with Heart. So Stanley, I want to ask, most memorable interviews on your show. What has been like your favorite or most memorable out of just the span of the existence of your program?
Well, I did enjoy talking with Stevie Ray. I think that was a really good show, talking about the stuff that he's done with his brother Booker T as part of Harlem Heat, the importance of representation in professional wrestling. I think that's a conversation that I feel like needs to be had. And also the fact that he does a lot of public speaking, and he's gone talked to several schools, and he was telling me he was working on a project that he was doing. It was wrestling related, but it was about helping the community. And I thought that was really interesting, and I was really fascinated by that. There was another guest I had on. She was an independent wrestler or wrestler in training, Black Dahlia. She was trained by Funaki.
Wow.
And later on,
SmackDown's #1. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, she was trained by Funaki and Rikishi. And so during her training, her and her friend, who I also interviewed, Nate Hewitt, Evil Nate, we had talked about just the struggle that she was going through when she set foot in Rikishi's school. She trained with Rikishi, And midway through her training, she broke ligaments in her foot.
Wow.
And she had put off surgery for a little bit. And she was talking about, living in her car for a while.
Wow.
And, when she mentioned to Rikishi, she can't do this for a while, Rikishi called everybody that in his school, and tried to, promote, Dahlia, saying, hey, this is a professional wrestler right here. She's a fighter. She's taken, she's applied her craft, really taking it seriously. But right now she can't do this. But she's now looking to make a comeback and really put in, she's put in the work. So I'm proud of her and everything that she's done. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed talking to a lot of people. I mean, Devon was great.
Wow.
Victoria was great. That was a really good interview.
Oh, wow. That's right. Wow.
So, Candace was awesome. I just had on Kelly recently. That interview will be coming out soon. So yeah, there's a lot of guests, man. Lots of people I'm going to be interviewing.
Awesome. That is so awesome. Stevie Ray, man. I mean, I couldn't, Stevie Ray and, Booker T. I know they're doing a lot of great stuff in their hometown out in Houston. I know Booker T and his wife started a promotion out there. I think reality of wrestling. Reality of wrestling. There we go. And they both have spoken about, like, their upbringing, living on hard times, doing stuff that was, illegal acts and things like that, but turning their life around. So it's exciting to see that. I know Stevie Ray and Booker T are doing some great things out there, man. Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. So when it comes to let me see here. When it comes to, you've already interviewed so many, well-known figures. Is there anybody like on your Mount Rushmore, on your bucket list of interviews that you would just love? I gotta interview, like, at least, if you have like your top 3 at least.
There are so many wrestlers I'd love to interview. The main thing is their schedules and whether or not they want to do podcasts or not, because it's they get asked by so many people. Like I said, there's like a lot of people that do podcasts, and so it's all about scheduling, timing. And I've reached out to several people, and just because the door may be closed right now doesn't mean it's down the line. It may not be. It may open up somehow, so you never know. But I mean, Kurt Angle would be a really good one, because I know he's done a bunch of charity work. Mick Foley would be one. I've talked to him, reached out to him. He's a busy guy. I mean, Trish would be good to talk with. Tori. I'd love to get Stacy Keibler on there. There's so many people.
Actually met before. You probably don't remember me, but
yeah, exactly. There's just so many people that I'd love to speak with. It's all about timing and really growing it. I mean, and the thing is I've got a lot of people from the independent circuit that have reached out to me as well. So
that's awesome.
The goal is to really combine, get as many indie stars and get more big names, so we can show a lot more consistency with hey, viewers that are watching this episode on YouTube can check out, this person, that they're on the rise. So there's a lot of people. It's just,
well, and what's your take, Stanley, on the independent circuit? Because I would say too, like, I feel as though those are the circuits that need more of the the notoriety and exposure, because especially after seeing a gentleman that you've interviewed, Al Snow, he recently did a reality show or a documentary show on Netflix about OVW. Did you get to check that out?
Yeah, I've seen some clips from that. I think it was really well done. I mean, OVW, as we've talked about before, that was the school that produced talents like John Cena and Batista and Lesnar and Shelton Benjamin, Rico, all those guys. I mean, that's the first thing you think of. At least I think of it anyway. When you think of OVW, you think of those 4 guys and all list of talents that they produced. To see the resurgence that it's having right now is amazing.
Yeah.
But You know, it's crazy. I think that today everything's more accessible now with your fingertips. I mean, 20
Very
years
true.
ago when the WWE bought out companies like WCW and ECW, I mean, sure you had TNA, you had Ring of
Mhm.
Honor, but you had really a monopoly
Yeah.
of wrestling that was there. I mean, the WWE, and you had to find certain channels to be able to get, you know, your TNAs and your Ring of Honors.
Very
But
true.
now you could watch wrestling like 6 to 7 days, almost 7 days a week now.
It
It's
it
on
it
every day, and you
it's
can
on
watch it
every day.
online too. It's more accessible, and now with social media and the internet, you can see, you can hear about so many guys. Like the one guy right now that's getting a lot of praise
Mhm.
is Joe Hendry from TNA.
Yes, 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 yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And you know, with WWE partnering up with them, and Japan, I mean, there's like a lot of opportunities now for these wrestlers to be seen on a worldwide scale. It's crazy to think about, because you wouldn't have thought about that 20, 30 years ago. And
Mm,
and with the rise of the independents, I think it's important to really look to see, you know, this guy or this girl could be something. You
mhm.
know, it's amazing to think about, you know, with the territory system. You know, I live in
Absolutely.
Nashville. You know, the Tennessee territory produced guys like Hogan and Savage, and Undertaker came through here. Stone Cold came through here. The
Wow.
Rock came through here. I mean, guys like Andre
Wow.
had a stint in Nashville and in
Wow.
Memphis.
Wow.
So
That is insane. And I think it's really cool, which I'm happy to see it now. Like you mentioned, the partnership that TNA is doing with WWE. Now, I don't think AEW has any partnership with WWE, but it's pretty interesting because, like, I feel as though when one wrestler leaves WWE, they go to AEW. Now, I will be honest, I was a huge fan of TNA. Like in the beginning,
mhm, mhm.
I loved the octagon concept. I loved the fact that it was, you know, not a massive venue, but like a decent sized venue. You had, you know, some known figures. I'm actually so I have the app, so I'm looking at like old archive. I'm in the stages of like watching it from the beginning to up, and I think I'm like currently watching like stuff that's happened in like '06 in TNA, and so you had Scott Steiner wrestling in that circuit. You had uh um Billy Gunn and oh gosh
Road Dogg when he
Road
was
Dogg, yep, Road
BG
Dogg,
James,
BG James. You
the
had
Voodoo
Team
Kin Mafia,
3D or
3D.
the Dudley, you know, the
Mhm.
Dudley Boys. You have so many. Oh, Christian Cage was the chick. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's so much great stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm happy that they can somehow work, because I'm all about like working together and not being always competitive. Because let's be honest, the WWE, when it comes to money, they can afford everything. They can buy them all out if they want to.
It's really amazing to see the evolution of that company and what they've
Mm.
been able to do. I mean, WWE does great business. I feel like now they're making a lot of money with these TV
Oh,
deals.
absolutely. I mean, you got new leadership with Triple H, who, I mean, you
Mhm.
never could imagine, again, looking in the earlier years, could you imagine, you know, one half of DX being the being in charge
And you
of,
got
you know,
Shawn Michaels in
Shawn
talent
Michaels.
relations. So it's
Right.
it's it's crazy to think about now, and the work that the both of them are doing, finding talent, producing the show. I
Hmm.
mean, really, you know, saying the words professional wrestling. I'm used to saying sports entertainment.
Yeah.
I've always said professional wrestling, but uh, I don't
It
think
is.
there's anything wrong with sports entertainment. I mean, it's all entertainment. So
They are. I cannot imagine. So the last, well, I've maybe the last full WrestleMania I've actually could say I watched. I watched the pretty a few of them recently, but like you're looking at WrestleMania now that it's not a one night only event. They're 2 nights now, and they're selling out football arenas like
mhm.
back to back, and it's
I
my
went to
brain is just
I was in Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40 this year. Getting to watch The Rock wrestle was a highlight.
My gosh, man. Oh my gosh. That was the best WrestleMania I've seen in so long. Oh my gosh.
And they really built up that storyline really well. I mean, Cody Rhodes was the guy. He's the guy. I mean, people wanted to see Roman Reigns lose the championship. So for Roman to be dethroned, that was a big deal. And not only that, you had Gunther lose his title. We had 2 new set of tag champions. I mean, it really was the beginning of a new era. It really was.
It really was. And then, I love to give flowers to literally every single individual. So, okay, boom. Obviously, Paul Heyman, probably the greatest manager, villainous manager of all times. Then you look at the commentator booth. I'm a huge Colts fan, so I've always been a Pat McAfee fan for a while. I thought that was a great addition, bringing him on. You got Logan Paul, who to most is a annoying person when it comes just to success. I'll be honest, the Paul brothers, they get on my nerves, but I give them their props because they are athletes. They play that villain role very, very good. Logan is if I never knew who Logan Paul was, I would think he was a wrestler for like many years. Like his style, man, is like through the roof.
He really put in the work. Him and Bad Bunny too.
Yeah. I forgot about Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's out here wrestling. What, man? That is crazy. So, let's talk about kind of like the new era of WWE now, because they are, highly, highly successful. As we mentioned, they're selling out arenas left and right. They're playing, performing overseas in Dubai, France. This is like the Olympics, man. It's really insane. They've recently, Raw, they signed a deal with Netflix, a $5 billion, by the way, for 10 years, over 10 years, beginning January 2025. Raw will be airing live on Netflix, which it made headlines because they're also going to kind of bring back the uncensored of Raw, right? The Attitude Era of Raw. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited, but in my mind, I'm like, how uncensored? Because this is, we live in the world of the Me Too movement. We live in a world of, you can still get canceled what you say. So it's like, okay, how uncensored? Just you gotta lay some F-bombs here and there. Is that what it is? Like, how uncensored is it gonna be?
I think they're gonna have to really toe the line and walk the line with what they can and cannot do. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when SmackDown had a PG rating, but it had like a PG like DLV
question mark.
yeah, because they would do a lot of stuff. Like I think back to the whole Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio feud over like with the ladder match and stuff like that. I mean, those were some pretty intense promos.
Absolutely.
During those segments. And you'd have like, your steel cage matches, your Hell in a Cell matches, your TLC matches.
So you're speaking right now, like on the gruesome factor, like the blood, the graphics, all that stuff.
I'm thinking you might see some of that come back.
Gotcha.
But I know they banned the chair shots to the head. I'm thinking they're gonna just do the stuff from the back like they've been doing, or act like somebody was maybe had a chair swung at them to the head, but they blacken out the arena and they turn the lights back on, or something like that. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I understand why they went PG, just because of the family-friendly nature of the business with the toys and the merchandise and things like that. So I could get why they did it. But I think 20 years later, I think it's good to cycle in and out. I mean, it's almost like when they were PG in the 80s, right? They were PG in the 80s. You had Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, all these like colorful characters, Ultimate Warrior. Then they went TV-14, which brought in the Attitude Era. So it's like the audience, you got to grow up with the audience.
The female performers weren't known to be like the athletes in the bunch. They're there to show off their bodies, do matches that expose them. You had the diva search and things like that. So they definitely chopped that away, because the female wrestlers now are pure athletes. I mean, they are just as good as a guy. I mean, maybe even better. Like they compete against the guys.
I mean, Bianca Belair is like an amazing wrestler. Charlotte too, Becky, Jade Cargill.
Yep. Ronda Rousey had a good stint. Ronda Rousey had a good stint in WWE as well.
She did. So I do think there's some room for both. You know,
Mhm.
characters, you know, sex appeal and you know, the athletic the serious competitors. I think you could have both of those.
Mhm.
Also, I was
Mhm.
talking with SoCal Val about this on a recent episode,
Mhm.
bringing back valets. You know, you can
Mm.
still have your female wrestlers, but
Mhm.
you know, maybe not necessarily everybody should be a wrestler. If they want to wrestle, if they want to wrestle, great. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's some room for a variety of different roles, variety of different characters. You can have, you know, your Terry Runnels or your Deborahs, and have, you know, your Trish Stratus or
Absolutely.
Lita's. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's like you said, they have the room to continue to go back and forth because again, their fan base is so loyal. I mean, just in,
hmm
wrestling in general, the fan base is so loyal because for years living in Virginia, I never knew about the local promotion we had, VCW. VCW is, I'm gonna say, has been in existence since like 95, 94.
hmm
And I never knew it existed because growing up, I was always glued to the TV, so I watched what was on TV. And then I come across and realize we have a promotion here that, you've had Al Snow, Gangrel perform, you've had
hmm
EC3, you've had Billy Gunn, like so many people come in and out, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know. And it's like, events that's maybe no more than between 250 to 500 max people, which to me is like, it's perfect because it's just you get to really really see it's just really cool. It's a really cool, like, grassroots kind of backyard style
exactly.
wrestling. The indie circuit has always been very appealing, and as much as I would love, my wife would like to go see a WWE event. I'm like, yeah, babe, but you see, the price of these tickets are.
hmm it's nuts.
It is, it is, it is. So, man, as far as all the different, going back to promotion. So obviously we see the growth, we see the rise, we see, WWE is there. They're not going
They're the
anywhere.
kings.
They are the kings. They are the kings. Coming down, let's go to AEW. What's your take on AEW? Have you been a regular person that tuned into it? What's your take on that?
I've watched some of AEW. I think they are a viable uh, promotion. I think that
Mm-hmm,
you've got a lot of potential there. There's a lot of great talents that are there.
mm-hmm,
MJF,
mm-hmm,
being one of them. I think he's money. He is just such a great character and persona. I like what he's doing. You've got Swerve Strickland. I think he's a really good personality as well. Good wrestler.
mm-hmm.
Um, I like Tony Storm. She's done some great work over
Nice storm.
there.
Yep. Yep.
And Mercedes, you know, she's now there.
Yep.
Um, I'd say Christian Cage has done some of his best work in AEW currently. I
Wow.
like what he's doing, and you know, you got Edge there
I know
currently.
Edge is, man. It's just, and
It's
that's another thing too. The wrestlers that we've watched during our childhood, it amazes me how, for one, how great a shape they keep themselves in.
mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you can tell, like, Edge has been in the weight room, dieting, for sure. And it's like, how do you guys still put this beating on your bodies? Like, I mean, again, I'm looking at John Cena right now, and I see the effects. Like, John
Yeah.
has a slight hunch sometimes. I don't know if people
Mm-hmm.
can notice it, but
Yeah.
he has like a slight. It's just, he's still in shape. He's still in great shape. But
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is the time, man. Let's think of the next route, because like guys like The Rock, I think he left at a pretty decent time
He
because
left
he's
in his
like,
prime.
he left in his prime. Exactly, exactly. So he took care of his body throughout the process. Then it goes back and forth here and there.
I mean, The Undertaker, I mean, 30
Oh,
years. Goodness. I mean, to be able to perform at such a high level, I mean,
Ric Flair. I mean, I mean, like, those cats are like, how? Like, take it easy.
it's really like, I mean, Taker I think if you watch the Last Ride documentary, he was
Mhm.
always searching for that like final match to really go out on. It's a shame he didn't get to wrestle in front of an audience
Mm,
in
mm,
for
mm.
WrestleMania the year that the COVID happened.
Yeah.
But that Boneyard match with AJ Styles, I think, was not a bad way to go out. Really good way to go out.
Oh yeah, shout out to AJ Styles too, by the way. He one of my favorite wrestlers.
and it's crazy how, you know, the fact that AJ was like the face of TNA for all those years, comes into WWE, gets that huge pop, can say he was the final opponent ever for The Undertaker. I mean, it's unheard of.
It's crazy. I just went seeing performers like you said, the face at one company and then moving on to another. Like I remember when AEW first came into fruition, it was Chris Jericho, I think, was kind of like that known figure to help bring some eyes to AEW. Then you saw Cody Rhodes, and Cody went to even TNA for, well, at the time it was Impact Wrestling, but he went there. Like they had some pretty top tier figures. Taz, I think, was a part of the. Jim Ross was a part of the comment. JR.
Tony
He was
Schiavone.
a part of it. So many familiar faces were there, man. And I'm just like, whoa, this is. I'm gonna start checking this out. And then you got Billy Gunn and his two sons, and it's. I mean, again, Billy Gunn is in his 60s, or no, late 50s, early 60s, maybe, but he is like in crazy good shape. I'm like,
Sting.
Oh, say no more. I mean, again, he just retired. I mean, like, you're killing me. You're killing me.
I mean, I'd say his run in AEW was really good.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, Sting he's a world-class performer. He knows he feeds off the energy of the crowd, and that kind of moves me to, because I know we're coming on a few more minutes left until this program, but when TNA, have you ever checked out TNA? I know TNA has rebranded back to being called Total Nonstop instead of Impact Wrestling.
I've always been a WWE guy first and foremost, but I have checked out some of the other promotions. Like I've watched AEW sometimes. I used to watch TNA some back then to just catch up, you know, on guys like Kurt Angle who went there, and the Dudleys and Christian, see what they were doing. But I mean, I've heard of AJ. I mean, I've heard of AJ and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and all those guys that were there. Abyss. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with having alternatives. I think it's a good thing. You don't want to just have only one. You want to have something for everybody. That, you know.
Very true.
So I think, you know, I haven't watched a lot of TNA currently. I've seen clips online, but it's just so. You know, it's just so amazing now that you can watch wrestling at your fingertips. It's
very true. Very true, my man.
I wish them all the best.
Absolutely. Same here. Absolutely. Man, Stanley, look, what do we have coming forth with Wrestling with Heart? What are some of the upcoming guests looking like for you, man?
Tell
the folks what can we expect?
So I just dropped an episode today with recording this on a Friday. So I just dropped an episode with the Blue Meanie, so he's now on the show.
BWO, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow. So
I interviewed him. Ricardo Rodriguez, he's coming up. Trying to think of some big ones. I interviewed Kelly, as I mentioned earlier. She's going to be on there. Nikita Koloff is another one.
Oh, wow. I know that's going to be great. Going to be great.
Yeah,
he's come a few times in my hometown. Actually speaking at churches, because I know he's a minister now, I believe, or a pastor, something like that. So yeah, he's spoken at some churches, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, look, again, ladies and gents, I want to truly thank my good buddy, Mr. Stanley Karr. Look, we're gonna chop it up just a little bit, just for a few minutes after this program. But again, tune into Wrestling with Heart, hosted by Stanley Karr, on all digital and streaming platforms, as well as WDJY 99.1 FM. Every Sundays at 4 p.m. Again, that's every Sundays at 4 p.m. Tune in to Wrestling with Heart, hosted by Stanley Karr. You can also, if you're not in the Georgia area, listen on your radio waves. You can listen to that online as well, WDJY, WDJYFM.com. Stanley, I thank you so much, my friend. Take care. Don't go anywhere. Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. But y'all, we have got to go. I hope y'all enjoyed another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Be sure to tune in next time. Hey, look, we got some more great guests coming in forth with this show. And yeah, just tune in Monday through Fridays at 11 p.m. on WDJY 99.1 FM. Straight talk. I'm out. Take care, my friends.